Righto, now is the ZenBook Pro UX 550, a MacBook Pro killer. Well, let's find out. I've already had a shootout between the XPS 15 and the 15-inch MacBook Pro. You can check out that video. I'll leave a link in the description. And I think it is fair to say that the XPS 15 was a MacBook Pro killer. If you want me to compare the ZenBook Pro against the XPS 15, or actually all three of these laptops, let me know down there in the comments. If there's enough interest, I will do that. So if you just look at both of these laptops, the 270 MacBook Pro 15-inch and the ZenBook Pro, you will see that the ZenBook Pro has, let's just say, taken a bit of inspiration off the MacBook Pro. They look very similar, although the finish is quite different. You know, look on the underside, they look almost identical, and just the way the bezels are and just the sort of shape and everything, they look very similar. So I think it's appropriate to compare these two. Now, when it comes to price, it'll be no surprise to you that the Mac is more expensive. So in reality, you can probably save up to $1,000 US compared to the equivalent spec MacBook Pro 15-inch. In Australia, that's around $1,500. There's quite a lot of price difference there. Now, some people can rationalise or justify this sort of difference. That's entirely up to you. But when you're just talking on a hardware level in terms of specs, and even if you factor in that Macs do retain a higher resale value, which is around 10% extra in my experience, still that's quite a lot of difference in the price there. So you will know yourself whether that price is justified or not. Let me know down there in the comments if you think it is. When it comes to design, they are very similar. In fact, as I just mentioned before, I think the ZenBook used the MacBook Pro for inspiration. Both of them are the highest quality when it comes to fit and finish, just overall polish, build quality, fantastic both of them. I do love the uniform thickness of the Mac. That space grey colour is sublime. I really do like that colour. That's probably my favourite colour. But when you look at the ZenBook Pro, oh my god, that finish on the top lid there, that signature swirl, that luster, that starburst effect when you look with the right sort of lighting, it is just pure class. Now when it comes to size and weight, they are both pretty much the same weight, although the MacBook Pro is thinner. It's 15.5mm, whereas the ZenBook Pro is 18.9mm. Just using them and handling both of them, they both feel very similar in terms of how weighty they feel. You will notice that the Mac is a little bit thinner, but just handling them both, I do not feel one is more cumbersome than the other. They just both feel weighty, because 1.8 kilos or 4 pounds is not a heavy weight for a 15-inch laptop with graphics. Also, you'll notice that the ZenBook Pro is a little bit wider. They are both the same depth, but the ZenBook Pro is wider because it does have a 16:9 ratio display. So just all up, weight and size, they feel around the same. The MacBook Pro is thinner and the finish on both of them is superb. I think it will come down to personal preference which one you prefer there. When it comes to ports, the MacBook Pro has four times Thunderbolt ports and a headphone jack. That's a lot of bandwidth there, don't get me wrong. That is a lot of bandwidth going through those ports, 4 of them. But me personally, I don't like using dongles and it does annoy me. If you're the type of person that this is going to annoy, factor that in and put that like really high on your list too, because for me it really annoys me. I think here I'm going to have to give the ZenBook Pro a win on the ports department, because you do get 2 full 4 times Thunderbolt 3 ports, so that's plenty of bandwidth there. You get 2 USB 3.1s, USB Type A's, you get a HDMI, you get a headphone, and you get a micro SD card slot. Now, I wish it was a full-size SD card slot. I mean, it's not that super razor thin that it could not fit a full-size SD card slot. I don't know why they made that decision, but at least you can use it for extra storage, I guess. I mean, there are some cameras that use micro SD, like GoPros and stuff like that, but most pro cameras or prosumer cameras will use full-size SD card slot. But an easy win to the ZenBook Pro. I just much prefer that port configuration, and what that means is just basically anywhere you go you'll be able to plug stuff in. If you forget your dongles, you don't have to worry about it. Everybody has USB Type A, so I love that they have kept those ports. Fantastic. When it comes to keyboard and trackpad, I think that's very easy for me. These things can be personal preference, but I do like the ZenBook Pro's keyboard. I think it's a lot better than MacBook Pro's. It has 1.5mm travel. You know, you get some feedback with it. It just feels like I can type faster with it. It just feels like a better keyboard for me. Some people like the MacBook Pro keyboard, but it's very shallow and very jarring. You really want to try that out before you buy it, because some people just really hate it. Even if you couldn't try out both of these keyboards, I think most keyboards you would have used would feel similar to the ZenBook Pro's keyboard. Whereas if you use the MacBook Pro keyboard and you haven't used anything like it before, you're just going to freak out until you get used to it. So I'd give the ZenBook Pro to win on the keyboard. When it comes to trackpad, yeah, reverse that, because although the trackpad on the ZenBook Pro is good, it's like one of the best Windows trackpads out there. Gestures work well, it is a nice trackpad. Still cannot compare to the Mac's trackpad. The Mac's trackpad is just, it's of a magnitude better. In actual fact, if I could get the Mac trackpad 11 out of 10, I would. Because really, this is an 8 out of 10, the ZenBook Pro. But the Mac is just, even though if I give it 10 out of 10, I don't think that would justify the difference between the two. But again, these things can be personal preference, so do try them both out if you can. But I think 9 out of 10 people would definitely choose the Mac trackpad and choose the ZenBook Pro keyboard. And when it comes to sound, well, congratulations to both of these laptops in terms of sound. Especially the ZenBook Pro, you've gone up a level. Like compared to any other Windows laptop, the sound on the ZenBook is phenomenal. Harman & Kardon tuned, nice meaty bass, rich. They are very loud. You can't have them up full blast actually. They're distorted around 90%. So you want to back off the sound a bit to get the best quality out of them, but superb sound on these. Equally, if not better, is the Mac sound. And it's very close between the two. The Mac sound is phenomenal as well. It is really rich. And if I was just going to choose which one had the better sound to my ears, I would say the Mac just shades it there, but both of them are superb in the sound department. Okay, when it comes to displays, it's a little bit complicated because you can get two displays on the ZenBook Pro. Now, there is a 4K model. I have the Full HD model here. I haven't actually seen a 4K model in the wild, so please let me know down in the description. Give me a link to one. But I believe there is a 4K model. It may depend on regions. The Full HD display is really nice. 100% sRGB. It is a bit glossy, but it is beautiful. Rich colours, colour accurate, and it's a touchscreen. You have the 4K option too, so if you want that higher res, it does have a 100% sRGB colour gamut too, where the Mac obviously comes with a non-touch display. It is a 2880 by 1800 resolution, 100% P3 DCI colour gamut there, so it has a really wide colour gamut, and it is 16 by 10, whereas the ZenBook Pro is 16 by 9. So the Mac display is taller. Some people like that. For creating content, they like the taller screen. Some people don't because you get black bars when you watch movies and stuff. This is personal preference. I guess if you want a touchscreen, you have to go to ZenBook Pro. If you want a 4K display, you have to go to ZenBook Pro. But comparing the Mac screen to the Full HD display on the ZenBook Pro, the Mac screen is better, but the 4K may be a different story. Of course, that's higher resolution than the Mac display, so things get a bit sharper when they're higher resolution. So I don't think you're going to complain whichever display you use. So you've got to decide, do you want a touch display? Do you want up to 4K resolution with the ZenBook? Or are you fine without touch and you want that wide colour gamut that you get with the Mac display in the tall 16 by 10 ratio? Again, please let me know what you prefer. I really want to know this sort of stuff and why. Now, when it comes to performance, inherent in the Mac's design is that it thermal throttles. So it was sort of strange why Asus decided to take inspiration from the Mac design, and both of them will thermal throttle on the CPU side, and that's just because of that design. There's not much airflow going through on both of them. They both use 7th generation Kaby Lake 45 watt quad core parts. With the Mac, you do have several other options in the i7 side there, so you can go to higher frequencies if you want. Do not waste your money on that. You will get no performance benefit selecting the fastest CPU on the Mac because it will thermal throttle anyway. When it comes to graphics, you have the AMD Radeon Pro 560 4GB in the MacBook Pro, and in the ZenBook Pro you get a GTX 1050 or 1050 Ti. Now the 1050 and 1050 Ti are definitely more powerful than the 560 in the MacBook Pro. So in terms of performance, you have DDR3 in the Mac, so that's the older type of RAM. You have DDR4 in the ZenBook Pro, which is the latest type of RAM. Both of them maximum 16GB. In the ZenBook Pro, you have an M.2 NVMe SSD. It can vary which type you get. In the Mac, you do have a super fast SSD in there, and they're all the same. They're all the same speed, and they're right up there with the 960 Pros in terms of read and write. So in the ZenBook Pro, it will vary what speed you get, depending on what part they can get from what vendor at the time. They're both going to be super fast SSDs. In real world, you probably won't notice the difference between the two, but the Mac will have the faster SSD, that is for sure. But you can, of course, upgrade the SSD in the ZenBook Pro, which you can't on the Mac. So you will be able to get a faster SSD and put it in the ZenBook Pro if you want to. Both of them have soldered on RAM, so you cannot upgrade the RAM at all. But remember, the Max is DDR3, the ZenBook Pros is DDR4. So overall, when it comes to performance, well, gaming, no brainer, the ZenBook Pro is better. They both will thermal throttle the CPU at times. If you're just using creative professional apps like Premiere Pro and stuff like that, you're not going to notice that sort of thing. More so for gaming, although the Mac will throttle even with Premiere Pro rendering and stuff like that as well. In terms of video editing and stuff like that, the ZenBook Pro is faster. Like, it was up to 10 minutes faster than the MacBook Pro. Same project in Premiere Pro. So it is a more powerful machine. So if you want the most powerful machine, the ZenBook Pro is the way to go. Now, in terms of battery life, full HD model on the ZenBook Pro, you're looking at around 8-9 hours of battery there. Web surfing, YouTube, Netflix, etc. Just general low-level tasks. With the MacBook Pro, you can get up to 10 hours with the same sort of use. Now, that's the full HD on the ZenBook Pro. With the 4K model, I do not know, but from my experience of how much juice a 4K display sucks compared to a full HD on the same battery, I'll be looking at around 5-6 hours with the full HD display with this size battery. So when you're talking a full HD ZenBook versus the MacBook Pro, you're talking at about 1 hour difference in terms of battery life there. So the MacBook Pro does have the better battery life. So overall, let me know down there in the comments which one you think is better. Just my opinion for what I do, video editing, want the most powerful machine, and yes, of course, the bonus of gaming. I want to play some PUBG, to be honest. I would go to ZenBook Pro because it meets my needs better than the MacBook Pro. Also, that $1,000 US difference, up to $1,000 there. I can buy a lot of things with that, so I do appreciate that price point as well. They're both great devices. And if you're in the Apple ecosystem and you use Final Cut and you don't mind paying a bit extra to be in that Apple ecosystem, yeah, you can't go wrong with the MacBook Pro 15-inch. It is a great laptop as well. But let me know what you guys think. I'll give the win here to the ZenBook Pro. So anyway, I'd like to thank you for watching. If you're new around here, why not subscribe? And until next time, guys, tally ho.